The Book of Zelph, an account written by the hand of Zelph upon plates, taken from the plates of Laban the Younger, the whores, and dances with Cureloms. These leather plates are an abridgment of the record of the people of Laban, the whores, dances with Cureloms, and other ancient Americans known collectively as Lamanites. The Lamanites mixed their seed and DNA with the Asian women who accompanied Laban the Younger when he sailed to the American continent approximately 600 BC in an attempt to avenge the murder of his father at the hands of Nephi. The followers of Nephi became known as Nephites and are a remnant of Jerusalem, and they did not mix their seed with Asian whores and therefore should have Israelite DNA markers. Unfortunately, the Nephites were destroyed by the Lamanites approximately 400 AD, and their remains can no longer be found on this continent, not even by scientific means, because they lived in a limited geography which nobody has been able to find. The Book of Zelph is written by way of knowledge by great men of this, the American continent, and it was engraved upon plates. It was written and hid away from the disbelieving eyes of the overly religious man until that day that it can come forth to the secular Gentile Americans of the 21st century to fill the holes in the Book of Mormon narrative and explain away the problems of Book of Mormon historicity and explain the DNA controversy and the lack of physical evidence. The plates were preserved by Zelph, the white Lamanite, and given to his son Melph, the off-white Lamanite, who kept them hidden. They were hid away until a time that they could come forth so that the Gentiles can understand the rest of the Book of Mormon story. And now, if there are faults with this book, it is nothing to worry about. Even if you're reading this book and you think to yourself, no way, just remember, maybe it could be true. Therefore condemn not the things of Laban, the whores, dances with Cureloms, Zelph, or any other characters in this book, for they are real, I promise. Translated by Josh Anderson, author and proprietor. And now, I shall read the introduction. The Book of Zelph is a volume of books like the Book of Mormon and is a supplement to the Book of Mormon. Since it takes two witnesses for something to be true, the Book of Zelph is a second witness of the ancient inhabitants of the Americas and contains stories of the men and women who lived here. Whereas the Book of Mormon was mostly about religion from the Nephite point of view, the Book of Zelph is about the day-to-day activities of the non-Christian groups living here at the same time, and tells their stories from their point of view. These non-Christian, non-Nephite groups became known collectively as Lamanites. The Book of Zelph contains the history of ancient America through their eyes. Their words, etched on metal, stone, and leather plates, were quoted and abridged by a Lamanite warrior historian named Zelph. Zelph was a great warrior, and many called him Zelph the handcart warrior, because his collection of plates was so heavy he had to pull them around in a handcart. Zelph finally grew tired of wheeling around the heavy plate collection, so he abridged their contents onto smaller, lighter, more convenient leather plates, and bound the leather plates in book format. Zelph's record gives an account of the people who could no longer tolerate the religious zealotry of the pompous know-it-all Nephites and therefore decided to annihilate them. The great people in the Book of Zelph lived life to the fullest and multiplied quickly by breeding like rabbits because of their sexual liberation, which was taught to them by the Asian whores. The Lamanites became a culturally diverse group with Asian DNA, while the Nephites remained sexually repressed religious zealots and white separatists who lived in a tiny geographical area and refused to intermingle with the dark-skinned Lamanites. As a result, the Nephites left no trace of their civilization behind. Even today, archaeologists cannot find a trace of their existence anywhere in the world. When Columbus arrived in 1492, the only groups dwelling in the Americas were the multitude of dark-skinned Lamanites with Asian DNA, and they are the principal ancestors of the American Indians. The crowning event recorded in the Book of Zelph is the final victory over the Nephite armies and the raping, pillaging, and eventual extermination of the Nephite people and their culture. Zelph lost his life during these final battles, and his handcart overflowing with plates became lost to the world, as did his leather abridgment. The remains of Zelph were found by Joseph Smith in 1834. However, Smith did not see the handcart of plates hidden in a nearby cave. The plates would remain hidden until 2004, when Josh Anderson was led to them by the ghosts of Zelph and Melph. Zelph handed Josh Anderson his leather-bound abridgment of the plates and told him to translate them for the modern generation to read. The plates and Zelph's leather abridgment were inscribed using a secret language called Reformed Asian. Like Joseph Smith, Josh Anderson translated the leather plates using a magic rock and hat. The record is now published for all to read as an additional book that fills in the gaps of the Book of Mormon narrative, tells the Lamanite side of the story, and helps answer some sticky scientific issues with the Book of Mormon. Concerning this record, Josh Anderson said, "I told my friends that the Book of Zelph is a really good book, and that they should read it." In addition to Josh Anderson, 13 others saw the ancient leather Indian plates for themselves, and they were selected by Josh to be special witnesses of the truth of the Book of Zelph. This is better evidence than the Book of Mormon, which only had 11 witnesses. The Book of Zelph has 2 more witnesses than the Book of Mormon. The witnesses' written testimonies are included herewith as the testimony of 4 witnesses and the testimony of 9 witnesses. We invite everyone everywhere to read the Book of Zelph and decide if it is true. Even if you think that logically or factually it couldn't have happened, just think if it is possible that it might have happened. Even if it is only 1% possible that it is true, that means there is still a chance. Are you willing to risk not believing it is true? You lose nothing by thinking it did happen, even if it really didn't. So the burden of proof lies with those who think it isn't true. Since it is impossible to prove a negative, we can logically assume that this book is true. If you still do not think it is true, we challenge you to use Melph's promise, as outlined in Melph 5:4, to discern the truthfulness of this book for yourself.